Yes, sir. I've been waiting on somebody to ask me about the Portland Trailblazers, and homeboy right here wanted me to do a deep dive into what I think about their roster. I have to tell you guys, off the top of my head, this team feels like the NBA's best kept secret still up to this point. They got so much exciting talent coming through that funnel. And to be honest with you guys, my first thoughts when I think of the Portland Trailblazers as they exist today is this is what a well-oiled machine looks like. This is what a well-managed franchise looks like. You lose your star player 2 years ago, and you retool, get young assets, you get young guys that can produce, and you see the vision, right? You can see the vision with what the Portland Trailblazers front office is trying to do right now as it's presently constructed, and it's only been 2 years. For small market teams, when they lose a franchise guy, an all-time guy, it normally takes them 5, 6, 7, a decade long to put together a cohesive unit again that can actually compete. The Portland Trailblazers did it in 2 years, which is extremely impressive in and of itself, right? You get a lot of people talking about all these young rosters across the NBA. OKC's obviously at the top of the heap. They just won the championship. But then you got teams like Orlando, you got teams like the Spurs who have young talent with, future star players, and you hear the buzz around them, right? You hear the buzz around them. And it's just not that with Portland. But I got to tell you, they deserve that same level of hype because what they're putting together, what Chauncey Billups has been doing as a coach, how he's helped develop that young talent that he's had, is really, really exciting to see. And dare I say, I think this team next season, as presently constructed, can compete for a playoff spot. I think they will be better than a team like the Sacramento Kings, right? And I don't think that's a stretch to say. Now, Sacramento was in the play-in game. I think they lost to Dallas in that last play-in spot. Like, I could see this team winning 42 games next season. I don't think that's a stretch at all because they're young, they're talented. And the thing about being young in an 82-game season is that day to day, when the grind of the season starts to wear on other teams, you have the luxury of just having more energy. You know what I'm saying? So as the season gets deeper, they got guys who are 22, 23, 24, 25 competing at a high level, playing hard, playing with intensity, whereas other teams don't. Like if they made it into the playoffs and stuff, due to experience, obviously I wouldn't pick this roster to go far, but just the leap that I think they can make coming into this next season is huge. And getting into individual players, oh my goodness, I'm so excited about these guys. And these guys got two players who could be perennial all-stars that no one talks about. In the same sense as a guy like Franz Wagner, maybe not as good as Paolo Banchero over there in Orlando, but darn close, right? Like when you look at Denny Avila, my goodness, that boy can play. He's 6'9", he can shoot the ball, he can handle the rock, he gets out in transition, he's physical, he's versatile as a defender, right? He can guard multiple positions, he can switch on to things. That's a guy who's going to be a max player of the future. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Shaedon Sharpe, who is one of the most dynamic athletes in the NBA, but also very skilled player, right? Good two-guard, good combo guard, can handle the rock as the lead guard, but can also play off the ball. I think both of those guys have all-star potential written all over them. If I had to predict like what I saw in the next season, I would predict both of those guys taking a step. I could see Shaedon averaging like 22, maybe like 6 assists. I could see Denny averaging like 20 and 9, 20 and 8, with 3-4 assists and still being a dynamic defender as well. And then when you think about the bigs, now this is an interesting one to me because they drafted Hanson Yang and they actually moved up in the draft to get him early. He was predicted to be a second round pick, I want to say, but Portland was so confident in what he had that they took him at 16, I believe it was, which tells you a lot about their confidence in him and what they think he can be, and also his potential. Because I've been watching him in the summer league, I've been watching highlights of him, and the Portland Trailblazers, they waive DeAndre Ayton, who is a talented big in his own right? But I think everybody knew that Donovan Clegane was going to walk into that starting role next season. I think he was just a better fit for them timeline-wise, attitude-wise, intensity-wise. All these things just fit and gelled more with what Portland was trying to do. And now I'm not so sure. now I'm not so sure that he's going to be the starting center next season. Now, I think ultimately his defense will make him the starting center. I think he's a great shot blocker, help side defender, rim protector, all that sort of stuff. And we're not sure if Yang is that yet. But Yang is someone who I see as who has a legitimate offensive potential in the NBA. And as we know, offense trumps all in the NBA. So even though I think Donovan will probably win out that starting role next season, I think that may end up being short-lived because he's not as dynamic of an offensive player as Hanson Yang is. You could just watch the footage and tell, right? The way Yang moves laterally, the way he finishes at the rim with his touch. I think he's someone who could evolve into a decent shooter as well. Clegane is a decent shooter and a floor stretcher at times as well. But I think Hanson is a guy, who 3-4 years down the road can be not just a starting center, but like a hub of an offense, right? Like we've seen how important it is for versatile bigs who can pass on an NBA court, right? And Yang has shown that he can do all of that. So it's an interesting team, interesting dynamic, right? Again, you got Yang, you got Clegane, you got Denny, you got Shaedon Sharpe. You still have Scoot Henderson, who is only 21 years old, right? And his first two seasons have had ups and downs, but production has been pretty consistent at about 13 points a game. Last season, we saw his shooting percentage go up. We saw his efficiency go up. We saw the turnovers go down, all this sort of stuff. So we can at least see the work, right? And we can see that there's potential there. Now, I'm not sure what that'll end up looking like in the grand scheme of things and how good he'll end up being. But I think it's worth continuing to explore with him, and I think he'll continue to get better. And then obviously, you add those veteran presence guys. Jeremy Grant's still on the roster. He's a great wing defender who can get up and down. He's athletic. You add Drew Holiday to the mix. I think Drew is the perfect, if he's at that mindset in his career, right, where he's willing to be, that veteran presence. I think he's the perfect guy to play alongside these guys. And I didn't even mention second team all defensive player Toumani Camara. My goodness, this team is actually loaded with young talent. Oh my God, I'm really excited about this team and what they can do. I think they could be a real problem in the West. When I say problem, I don't mean that they're up there with the Denvers, with the Rockets, with the Oklahoma City Thunders, but like those teams that are 6 through 10, they're going to be in the mix with those teams, right? And as you get into the play and anything can happen. They're definitely going to be, they're definitely going to have sustained energy coming into those later parts of the season when other teams may dip, when other teams may fatigue. They got the youthfulness on their side that's going to make a big difference. And I fully expect Shaedon Sharpe and Denny to make steps next season. And I think Chauncey Billups understands what he has in these guys, right? As a former player, as a highly intellectual player, high IQ guy, he understands that he can get more out of these guys, right? I think last season was an exploratory season, the same way, the previous 2 seasons before that were, where you're getting a feel for what you have, who's going to separate themselves as the guys. And I think towards the end of that season, Denny and Shaedon really separated themselves, and that's why they were comfortable trading Anthony Simons. You know what I'm saying? Because they made that leap, they separated themselves. So now next season, the way that's going to manifest is them 20 and 8 for Denny. You know what I'm saying? 22, because I think Shaedon has the ball in his hands a little bit more. 22 and 6, 22 and 7 for Shaedon Sharpe. Still being dynamic athletes, getting up and down, pushing the pace. There's a lot to like about this team, guys. Got to be honest with you guys. There's a lot to like. So I'm excited to see where that winds up for them. Let me know what you think. Peace.